It's time for another Dio song. Are you guys ready? This suggestion came to me anonymously. Thank you for your support on my Buy Me a Coffee page. You know who you are. I'm going to check out Caught in the Middle. Are you guys ready for this one? I have been on this journey and I'm still very early into that whole world, so I have a lot to learn, but I'm excited to check out another one. American heavy metal band formed in 82, led by vocalist Ronnie James Dio. He had left Black Sabbath with intentions to form a new band. That's how we get the band Dio. You ready for this? Make sure to subscribe. I'm Rosalie. Welcome. We go around the world to talk about psychology, music, various cultures, all genres, eras. This is the channel, as I say, where, well, how do I say it? Education and entertainment meets encouragement. That's kind of what I want this place to be. So make sure to subscribe. You ready? Here we go. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that? This is catchy. I'm going to pull up these lyrics. His voice. That ooh, I underestimate sometimes just how much all these bands and these artists are such legends, not only because obviously many of you love them, but how they influence the music industry and how one genre is not an island. You might have one that's like that classic rock or heavy on the metal or just whatever. And then you have these elements that, ooh, that almost make me think, ooh, I hear a little bit of a Uptown Funk. I hear a little bit of a pop. I hear a little bit of a Motown feel. That's not the genre, of course, but people have soul and people can go have rock with EDM and people can have elements of blues or groovy, funky disco elements in heavy metal. Like, that's the beautiful thing about art, right? You can just mix various elements and you can have things that'll make you feel something. That run, this one is soulful. He got the oohs and the runs. This is funky and soulful, more than I expected. You feel it, you feel it, you feel the rush of it all, yeah. Flying away in the clouds, you know you're losing your control. And finding your way in the dark, like some poor forgotten soul. You feel it, you see it, you feel the rush of the city lights. I feel it, I see it in your eyes, yeah. Caught in the middle, just like the way you've always been. Oh, these harmonies. Ah! Caught in the middle, just like the way you've always been. Caught in the middle, helpless again. love that pause. No, no. Almost like this play on someone you don't know, as in to know, K-N-O-W, but also no, no, as in no and oh, right? This turmoil between yes, no, I'm caught in the middle, back and forth.
Maybe it's just what you need. Letting the river I know that's in you flow. Oh, you can feel it, you can see it. You know the rush of thunder, yeah. You feel it, I see it in your eyes, yeah. Caught in the middle, just like the way you've always been. Caught in the middle, helpless again. Like the rush of the thunder that brings you under. There's some kind of spark. You're caught right there in the middle. You're caught in the middle, trapped in the middle again. Oh man, hey, yeah. You've been caught in the middle.
That grit. Oh my goodness. I got something in my eye, y'all. I am mind blown at Dio's voice. Dum, 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 dum. That was awesome. Wow. You guys, where do I start? A few years ago, if you would have told me that I'd be sitting here listening to Ronnie James Dio, jamming out, really genuinely enjoying this, imagining myself even playing this in my car as I'm driving around, I don't know if I would have believed you. And it's so exciting to be on this journey with you guys of exploring songs that are legends that have been part of your life for decades, rediscovering this. Little did I know on this journey that I would explore some of these artists or discover and love some of this music the way that I do. And that's what I love about being on these rides with you guys. I, first of all, am mind blown by his vocal ability. I think every song that I've listened to so far is always amazing what he can do, for sure. Don't get me wrong. Another thing that I've been loving is discovering an artist that I would have assumed back in the day. Go check out some of my other videos, follow the channel for more understanding of my background and why that influences how I hear things or how that has changed over the years. But another aspect is that, there would have been a time I would have looked at a lot of these songs with skepticism and thinking some of it was evil. And then now only to have my mind blown to realize how profound and special a lot of these lyrics and songs are. But this song particularly, Caught in the Middle, to me, showcases Dio's vocal ability on another level. I've been mind blown by every one of the songs I've listened to so far because he just does an amazing job all the time. But here particularly, maybe it was that mix between the runs, those soulful oohs and ahs, back to the grit and that rasp in the end, his vocal range. I mean, how he can hit those high notes with such force and precision. I wish I had the voice to cover a song like this. I would love to cover a song like this. But mine would probably have to be more of a soulful bossa nova ballad kind R&B, just with the timbre of my voice. And I don't know if that would work for this kind of song, but I wish I could cover a song like this well, because it's just so legendary. That hook in the chorus is so catchy. It's so memorable. It gets stuck in your head. Then to his, like I said, his a great vocal range, that vocal control. It just showcased his ability in a very strong way. This whole thing was vocals. It was amazing. Maybe it also helped that there was no music video to distract me. But this song is powerful, and it turns out that this song, according to songfacts.com, is allegedly about Angelo Arcuri, who was the engineer on Holy Diver and would often come to Dio when he was having troubles. Dio came up with the song's title when Angelo told him he was caught in the middle again. And allegedly, Angelo's life always seemed to be one of those that's caught in the middle of some kind of turmoil, Dio explained. And he would often make decisions that were wrong, and he would come to me and go, "Ron, what am I going to do? is allegedly what Ronnie James Dio explained. This rocker, Caught in the Middle, is part of the album Holy Diaper, the first album by Dio, formed by Ronnie James Dio after leaving Black Sabbath. They recorded the album at Sound City Studios with Dio producing, but without an experienced hand at the helm. They had to figure out how to make the album as they went along, which made Angelo Acuri's role as an engineer a very important one. And they ended up using some unorthodox techniques to get that distinctive sound, like putting drummer Vinny Appice's kit against a window and surrounding him with plywood. I did not know that. Isn't that an interesting fun fact? The album ended up being a metal landmark and proof that Ronnie could succeed outside of Black Sabbath on his own. And I love that little fun fact that I just read to you from songfacts.com, because especially if, from what I understand, Angelo's being caught in the middle often and struggling with turmoil and being distraught in that place, when we have that information of a person who's often caught in the middle, but we also see how his role as engineer was so distinct and how he brought his unique talent and abilities to this project that became so legendary. I think the message behind that to me is special because it just goes to show how you can have someone who struggles, who is going back and forth, who is at turmoil at times, and still leave a legacy, still do something of value. I hope that encourages you guys, if you can relate to these lyrics and you feel like that's you sometimes, that for one, your story isn't over. Two, you don't have to stay caught in the middle. But three, you can still do something of value, and you have unique talents and abilities that you can bring to the table that nobody else has. You are allowed to fill space. You are allowed to be you, and that we need you. So I just love the message behind that I'm gathering from it. But this was released in 83, and I love the lyrics. I want to talk to you about those for a second. His voice, like I said, the first thing that just stands out to me, that blows my mind. Number two, just this constant reminder that these bands that I would have often categorized as, oh, that's just not my thing. This is too hard rock, metal. This is maybe even evil at times because of some of the imagery I would see. Those are all just false assumptions. They're absolutely false. The depth of these lyrics are profound. And I love the humanity in this one particularly. Looking inside of yourself, you might see someone you don't know. Maybe it's just what you need, letting the river in you flow. It makes me think of, was it Bruce Lee? Or who said, be like water? Looking inside yourself. I think many people can relate to feeling like they see someone that they don't know when they turn inward. And I would argue from a psychological standpoint, or just from a therapeutic standpoint, that many times when people feel caught in the middle, it is because they are not looking inside enough. They're very busy looking at external circumstances, and they are bouncing back and forth based on external opinions, other circumstances, your environment. Sometimes you cannot find the right decision until you look inward, until you figure out, who do I want to be, in my opinion. And that's a journey, of course. Letting the river in you flow. You can sail away to the sun and let it burn you while you can, or walk a long bloody road like the hero who never ran. A contrast here between sailing towards the sun, sounds very adventurous, also kind of crazy and dangerous, letting it burn you while you can. Perhaps a nice suntan as you sail into the distance because you want to be free. But it can also burn you, right? There's a dichotomy here, as is life. When we look at existential theory and psychology, we see those contrasts, isolation versus relationship. We have a freedom versus responsibility. There's a longing in us to sail towards the sun. And there's also the fact that you do that too much, you're going to get burned somehow. Walk along a bloody road like the hero who never ran. There's a desire, I think, in many of us to do adventurous things, to be brave. We can do all those things, but sometimes people will bounce back and forth between these extremes and find themselves caught in the middle. You feel it, you'll feel it. You feel the rush of it all, right? It's human, and there are people out there, some more than others, who need that rush. It gives them adrenaline. That's how they feel free. That 9-to-5 average life just won't cut it. It makes you feel imprisoned, and you feel like life was supposed to be about freedom or exploration and adventure. Flying away in the clouds, you're losing your control. Finding your way in the dark like some poor forgotten soul. We went from adventure to feeling lost, to going too far away, flying too high, and feeling lost, finding you in the dark. Maybe also a conversation about people who are in these extremes, maybe people with bipolar or borderline personality disorder, people maybe with depression and anxiety, or specifically, but perhaps bipolar, where there are these episodes between manic and depressed, right? There's people who, mental disorder, personality disorder being an example, but also just in life will find themselves on these waves and then end up feeling alone and lost. You'll feel it, you'll see it, you'll feel the rush of the city lights. I feel it, I see it in your eyes. You're caught in the middle. I love here that I'm hearing a loving friendship. I'm hearing a person here who's not saying, that's your problem, dude. You went too close to the sun, you went too high in the sky, it's your own fault. It's a friend who says, I'm finding you way in the dark. In order to find someone, you have to go look for them. You have to be willing. I mean, sometimes we find people because we stumble upon them, happen chance or whatever the expression is. But finding someone often implies to me that you either looked or that you were willing to pay attention to your surroundings, to see that someone is in need. And I hear this from a loving friend's perspective. Perhaps that's also influenced based on the background that I just read. But I hear a loving friend who sees their loved one, who sees their buddy, their friend, and says, I get it. I see what's happening here. This is what I notice about you. You do these extremes. You end up finding yourself in the dark and feeling alone. You're caught in the middle, just like the way you've always been. This is what you tend to do. But I don't hear condemnation here. I don't hear an exasperated, frustrated friend saying, oh my gosh, here we go again, you and your extremes. I hear a friend who knows the other person and who is perhaps also trying to help them by addressing it. True friendship is when we can lovingly speak truth. And sometimes it can be so helpful just to even begin with a diagnosis. And by that, I mean with saying what it is, with stating the obvious and being honest about what you notice in your friend. When a person has especially destructive, self-sabotaging habits or does things that keep leaving them, finding themselves in the same place they've always been, sometimes there is a time and place to say, hey, I notice you do this and that often, and you're back to this place that you've been before. And can we talk about why? Can we talk about where that comes from? You know, I hear a love, I hear a friendship and an understanding of being human. Like the rush of the thunder that brings you under. The rush of the thunder that brings you under. The rush of a thunder sounds exciting, but it's that exact same thing that brings you under. There's some kind of spark. You're caught right there in the middle. You seem to enjoy that rush. You seem to enjoy the fun, but that's the thing that ends up destroying you. You're caught in the middle. You've been caught in the middle. He doesn't offer simple solutions, empty platitudes. There is no judgment here. It's simply stating what it is. You're back to where you've often been. This keeps happening. You do this thing where you're chasing the thunder and go towards the sun and the bloody road, and then you find yourself stuck in the dark and going under, and you're caught in the middle. That's the beginning of I think, where healing can begin, when we are willing to acknowledge what it is we're doing. And then we can take it further, hopefully, and look within and understand who we are, learn who I really am. Where does this come from? That this tendency to look for the rush. Is it just because I want to be free and I enjoy a nice adrenaline kick? Is this because I'm restless? Am I empty? Do I even know myself? Am I running from something? You find yourself caught in the middle. He's stating what he keeps seeing, but it doesn't end, like I said, with judgment. It doesn't end with empty words. Well, you need to stop. But it began with a conversation about looking within. What it was the first lyric again, looking inside of yourself, you might see someone you don't know. Maybe it's just what you need, letting the river in you flow. That to me is a very loving phrase, but also the remedy to some of this. When you start looking inside of yourself, maybe it's what you need. And I think this is honest too. Maybe that back and forth is what you need. Maybe being a person that ends up finding themselves caught in the middle is what you need. Maybe that's just who you are, letting that river flow and going off of your whims, and sometimes here and sometimes there, and then you end up finding yourself in the middle. It's an acceptance of this human being and understanding that maybe that's just how it is. But at the same time, not shying away from pointing out what this person is doing. You know, maybe this is who you are. Maybe you just gotta let it flow. Maybe this is what you need, but this is what you do. We're not going to pretend that that's not happening. We're not going to pretend you don't tend to kind of go towards the sun and the storm and the thunder. It is a thing. You're caught in the middle again. And I think when we love somebody, you know, and also depending on our levels of being healthy and stable, sometimes it's easier or harder to allow people to be themselves, to not try to fix them, to not be controlling, to not think that it's our job, but at the same time also not enable, right? And not pretend that this is fine. You're doing nothing wrong, honey, right? Where's there room, if we love ourselves enough, to have that balance to say, you keep doing this and this is what's happening. Maybe this is just who you are, without it now affecting us. There's a need for boundaries and understanding where one person begins and the other ends. But it's an honest human song. And I just love how he was belting this. At one point, the guitar was taken off, and it made me think of wailing, of like a frustration, perhaps the frustration of that person that feels caught in the middle. amazing songwriting. My goodness. Thank you for the suggestion, for your support on my Buy Me a Coffee page. Guys, make sure to come hang out with me on Patreon. Okay, more and more, I'm putting videos there. There are a bunch of exclusive content available for various membership tiers, but there's also plenty available for free. If you simply just want to be part of that platform, I highly recommend it. Things are constantly changing on YouTube. So come hang out. I'm dropping my pen. Come hang out with me over there. Check me out on my Buy Me a Coffee page if you want to support me a bit. If you want to make a song suggestion, please read the requirements. A lot of work goes into these videos, but I'm honored you're here. Subscribe, and I'll see you on the next ride. Heyo!